Hello guys, Doglin here, and today I'm going to be doing a new video on my series about the MI Train project. And before we begin, if you're new to this little mini series about the project, I'll give you a brief history about the proposed commuter service line that will take passengers or Michiganders from Ann Arbor, Michigan to Traverse City, Michigan. Let's go. Back in 2011, a Traverse City company called Groundworks had an idea to make a commuter train service from Ann Arbor, Michigan to Traverse City, Michigan. The line was actually was going to be used for a Detroit to Ann Arbor to Howell route, but since money shortages was used because, well, who wants to go to those three places nowadays, didn't work out and the project was on hold for 2015. Now it has a chance. Back in 2017, they started backing up their service up again and trying to work on everything else. And they were actually going to do test runs in the summer this year, but COVID happened. I actually got a hold of the man who was working on the project to ask him questions, and we're going to be talking about them right now. So my first question was, how long will one trip be from Ann Arbor to Traverse City? Like, let's say I was in Ann Arbor and I wanted to get to Traverse City. How long would one trip be? And this was the offers, or the guy who's working on the project who's leading its answer. His answer was, and I quote, "The study team laid out a few different options for future services. Additionally, it's probably a 6-hour trip. However, almost every improvement to the track will reduce that time. The first goal will be a 5.5-hour trip with a 60-mile-an-hour train. The next goal will get it to a 5-hour trip. I attached a summary documentary that talks a little bit about the travels." My second question was, how many trains would be on the line? Which I'm talking about, like how Amtrak does it. They have like 5 trains on one route, or would they have just 1 or 2 trains? Because Great Lakes Central bought 23 or 30 Metro cars, and it would be enough for 3 trains. And this is his response. That's all still to be determined. It's still pretty early in the planning stage. So, what he's saying is it's still really unknown, but my guess is if they have 30 Metro cars, they might have like 1, 2, or 3 trains because there are about like 3 other routes, so they could have just 1 train on each route. Question 3 was, what will lead the train? Would it be a Great Lakes Central engine, or would they buy their own engine? And this is his response. We are looking to create a new entity, probably a non-profit organization that will manage the project, and manage the operations. We're exploring what the structure will look like. So, we don't really know, but I'm going to show you a video from a study they did about what the route would look like. And here's a video.
Identify what type of train service you should basically have in the future. And so essentially we're looking at 3 kind of levels of service. Something like the Alaskan train, which is a 60-mile-an-hour train, runs up in Alaska. Maybe some of you have been up there on holiday and sort of seen the train service they run. Whether or not we could up to that to a 90-mile-an-hour, which would use these faster passenger type locomotives and more sort of consistent consists for the trains, or whether we can actually go to 110, which would give us a very real attractive run and make it highly competitive with the automobile, which would be a very exciting thing to do because people really do love their cars in Michigan.
So basically what he's saying is that a 60-mile-an-hour train would have an engine like the Alaskan Railroad, a diesel engine. And if they went up to 90 miles an hour, Groundworks is a really environmental friendly railroad, so they would possibly use one of those new chargers that Amtrak's running it. Or they would borrow some 2 or 3 Great Lakes Central engines, but it's still unknown. My last question is one that everyone wants to know: when will it start? And this is his response. we might be able to do some special event trains by the summer of 2022. Our first goal is to do a test run in the spring of 2022. So it's definitely not impossible to do a Cherry Festival train in 2022. So basically, and they're thinking of doing special events trains in 2022, and maybe in 2023 there's a goal that they are going to do weekend summer service, and either that same summer or the next summer. I'm going to be showing you guys some graphs really quickly. So the first graph is trains versus auto times. So for an automobile to get to Traverse City from Ann Arbor, it's 4 hours and 40 minutes. On a 60-mile-an-hour train, it's 5 hours. On a 90-mile-an-hour, it's 4 hours and 29 minutes. And a 110 would be really competitive for a 3 hour and 27 time. They're actually thinking on trying to go to Petoskey and Williamsburg. And if you can zoom in on the graph on the train versus auto times, you'll see how each train will go. Basically, the really competitive, all of them is 110 except for Petoskey via TC, which is almost the same time. The next graph is riderships and revenue. So if there's a 60-mile-an-hour train, ridership in the thousands would be 200,000 people in the 2020s would ride on the 60-mile-an-hour, 90, 549,000, and 110, 830,000. Revenue in the millions for a 60-mile-an-hour in the 2020s would be $8.72 million, 90-mile-an-hour, $28.66 million, and for 110, $51.62. That's all we have right now of the MI train. So basically in this video, the service or special event train should start next summer, and and that's about it for this video. Thank you all for watching. See you next time. Peace.